This is Amud Yomi, Gemara and Berachos, Daf Yudalid Amud B. So we pick it up from the very bottom of Yudalid Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom, as we quote the Mishnah that teaches Eluhein Bina Prakim. What were the different Bina Prakim that the Mishnah taught us? Berachos Kriya Shema and Shema itself. And then the Mishnah concluded that between MS and V'yatziv, Rav Yudah says lo yafsik. Rav Yudah Rabbein Vayomer Lemes V'yatziv lo yafsik. Says the Gemara 2 lines to the bottom of Rav Yudah Rav Yechanan. Halachic Rav Yehuda Damar. We pass like Rav Yehuda that says V'nelokecham Lemes V'yatziv lo yafsik. Amar Rav Yehu Avu Amar Rav Yechanan. My time with Rav Yehuda. Where does Rav Yehuda come from? They're not allowed to be masik between MS and V'yatziv. Dechsev, as the pasuk says, we turn over to Yudalid Amid Beis. Vashem Elikim MS. So we see that there's no mafsik between Elikim and MS. That's the reason why he says Rabbi Yehuda in the end of Shema, you say Hashem Elikechem, and then you go MS into V'yatziv. Asks the Gemara, Chayzer MS, or Chayzer V'omer MS. If whether one finished earlier or the Chazin, do you repeat MS or not? Amar Rabbi Yechanan Chayzer MS, Rabbi Amar Chayzer MS, Amach Laikas. Hodanachas Kamei the Rabbi, Shamei the Rabbi, the MS Shay Zimni. Here the Rabbi was saying MS 2 times. Amar Rabba Klemes MS. Tafsi Lahai. What's this guy doing? What's he just grabbed by the MS bug? It's not the right thing to do. Amar Rav Yosef Kama Malei Shmaitza. How great is the following teaching? Tchiyaz Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. Amar Rami B'Marav. They said in the west. They said in the west in Ma'ariv. What did they say? Davar Al Bnei Yisrael Marta Aleim Ani Hashem Lekechem MS, which is an abridged form of the third bracha of Shema of the parsha of Tzitzis and Yetzias Mitzrayim. Amarli Abaye, my Mal Yusa. What's so good about what they said? V'amar Rav Kana Rav Lo Yaschel, that you don't have to say the third parsha at night. Vim Hischel, but if you start, Kaimer, you have to finish. So what are they doing? They didn't have to start. But once they started, they should have finished. If you're going to tell me Marta Alehem Lavi Yaschala, that when they said Marta Alehem, that's not considered starting the third parsha. V'amar Shmuel Bar Yitzchak Rav Davar Ben Yisrael Lavi Yaschala. If you don't say Davar Ben Yisrael, that's not called starting the parsha. But the Marta Aleim Havi Yaschala. Amar Papa Kasavi Marav. You know what they thought? You know what they held? V'Marta Aleim Nami Lavi Yaschala. Ad Amar Vesulahem Tzitzis. Only then is it considered starting. They have to finish the parsha. Amar Abaye. So it says Abaye, based on the aforementioned details. Chanan us in Bavel. What we do is we're machmir aschulim aschilin. We actually start the third parsha, and then they come asli b'marava as they started it in Eretz Yisrael. But what do we do? We finish the whole parsha. Continues the Gemara, Chia Barav. About 20 lines down, the first word on the line is Chia. Chia Barav Amar. Amar Nisham Lekechem. Sarech Lioimar Emes. Like we started off the day, once you say Nisham Lekechem, you got to say Emes. Loimar Nisham Lekechem. In Sarech Loimar Emes. Ay, Babai, that's curious. See, it's Mitzrayim. How can you say that? It sounded like he said, you don't say Ames, then you don't say the whole next part. How could it be? You're not saying Yetzias Mitzrayim. Tamar Hachi says, where no, they did. Of course they said Yetzias Mitzrayim. They said it in the bridge form. They said, we praise you. We continue smacking on the 2 dots, in which we go back to the Mishnah and we say, what is the reason for the order of the Kriya Shema, which was the end of the Mishnah. The Mishnah taught us that what's the reason why Shema comes before V'hayim Shemaya? Because first we're Mekabel Amach Shemaya, and first we accept God's sovereignty upon us, and then we say Shema V'hayim Shemaya before V'yomer. Why? Because one is Noyig V'hayim V'yom V'hayim V'layla, one is only Noyig B'layla. Says V'yom, excuse me. Says Maratanya Rashbi Yomer says that Shema Yechai B'din. Really, who she active Shema V'hayim Shema? You know why Shema comes first? Shezeh Lil Moed, Zeh Lilamid. A different reason for the Mishnah. Because Shema is Lil Moed to learn. So first you learn, and then V'hayim Shema is Lilamid to teach. V'hayim Shema L'Yomer. V'hayim Shema comes to our Yomer. Why? Shezeh Lil Moed, Zeh Lilamid, excuse me. That's the Gersa change. V'zeh L'asais. Because V'hayim Shema is to teach. V'zeh L'asais, and V'yomer is to do the mitzvahs, put on tzitzis. Asks the Gemara, I'll do Shema Lil Moed Isvei, Lilamid, V'lasais, V'lasei. What do you mean the first parsha doesn't also talk about teaching, also talk about doing the mitzvahs? V'ksiv, it says Vishinantem, which means to teach people. Ukshartem, to put on the tefillin. Uchsaftem, and you should write it down. Furthermore, Vayim Shemaya, the second parsha of Shema. Lelmodu Disbay, it only talks about teaching others. But last bay, it doesn't also discuss doing the mitzvah. What do you mean? To do the mitzvahs. So we have to amend the statement of Rashbi. But then really, Shema comes first. She said, because the first parsha of Shema is all three, the great trifecta. Learn, teach, and do the mitzvahs. Vayim Shemai, the second parsha, Levayomer, why? Because that one has two of the three. Beautiful, that's the opinion of Rashbi. Asks the Gemara, the obvious kasha, why don't we just say, why don't you just say the reason like our Mishnah said, that Shema comes first? Because the Mekabel of Shemayim. Says the Gemara, no, we agree. Chada, that's one reason. Vaid Kamar, it's another reason. Chada, number one, that you first say Shema, because you're accepting Hashem upon us as our God, our King. And then you go mitzvahs. And now another reason is so the things that we just spoke about, that the first parsha has all three, the second has two, and the last there's only one. Rav Mashi Yodi continues the Gemara 3 lines from the medium-sized lines. Rav would wash his hands, say Shema, v'anach tefillin, and then put on tefillin, v'tzali, and then he would daven. Asks the Gemara, how could Rav do this? We learned in a brayza, someone is digging a burial plot, kever, potter, mikrisha, minatfila, minatfilin, become mitzvah, murs, batayra. He's potter from everything. Isaac mitzvah, potter min a mitzvah. He's dealing with the burial, then he doesn't have to do anything else. Continues the brayza on the first medium-sized line. He gives man kriyishma. What does he do? Ayla. B'naitel yada, wash your hands. Umanech tefillin. First put on the tefillin, then v'kari kriyishma mitzvah. So before we get to our question on Rav, ask the Gemara 1 second. Hagufa gasha. Reisha first says Bryce said Amar Potter that guy burying doesn't have to say Shema. V'Seifa it says Chayiv. Says Gemara, no, hello Kash. You know what's going on in that Brysa? Seifa is betray. There were two people dealing with the burials. Therefore, when this man of Kriyishma comes, one can take a pause and say Shema, and the other one will continue with the mitzvah of burial. V'Reisha b'Chad. So says the Gemara, but Mikol Moshe Kash Rav. We have a Kash on Rav because what did Rav do? First he said Shema, and only then did he put on tefillin. Whereas what do we say we should do? First you should put on tefillin and then say Shema. Answers the Gemara, Rav Kir Shub ben Karcha Tzvir Leit Amar. Shub ben Karcha said, all Malchus Shemayim Techila. First he said Shema, V'achach all mitzvahs, and only then did he deal with the mitzvahs, did he deal with the tefillin. Asks the Gemara 1 second, name with the Shub ben Karcha, Lahatim Kriya, Likriya, Kriya Lasiya Mishamasei. Shub ben Karcha was just telling us the reason that you read one parsha before the next. Shub ben Karcha never taught us that you actually should say Shema before put on tefillin. V'su, and furthermore, ask the Gemara, Misav like Shub ben Karcha. Does Rav really hold that? V'amar. 5 lines from the bottom. Rav Chia Barashi, he didn't say Ginav Kamini Kamini Rav. O Maktiv Mashi Yadim Mavarich. O Masilon Pirkon. O Manach Tefillin Vadikar Kriyishma. He would first teach Torah, then put on tefillin, and then say Kriyishma. So clearly, he does not hold like Rav Yeshua ben Karcha, who said that first comes. The Kshum ben Karcha, who said first comes Ol Malchus Shamayim and then Ol Mitzvahs, because if he taught Torah, that's like Ol Mitzvahs, and only afterwards did he say Shema. Maybe you'll suggest that story is not a raya. Why not? Because Blomat is man Kriyishma, maybe this man didn't come yet. Imkain Masidus the Rav Chia Barashi. What was the whole story that they were telling over what he did? What's the raya if this man didn't come? Says the Gemara, Lafuki Mandamer Le Mishnah. No, the story is coming to teach us that according to the Mandamer, that for Mishnah Yitzarach Levarich is teaching us that even for Mishnayis, you have to say Berachos HaTorah. Says Mar, okay, fine, but we come Rav. What in the world was Rav doing? Why did he first say Shema and then put on tefillin? And you have no right from Shub and Karcha. He was just talking about the order of the parashiyos. Says the Gemara, you're right. Shlucha Huda Avis, who's the shliach them best up. He didn't bring him his tefillin, so Rav didn't have tefillin, and this man came, so he said Shema first, and then he just put on tefillin. But of course, normally, you would put on tefillin first, and then say Shema, and with that we conclude, Amar Ula, Klakari Krishma V'loi Tefillin, if you say Shema without tefillin, Kilumiyud, Eidu Sheker Ba'atzmai. It's if you're giving false testimony about yourself, because in the parish of Shema, it talks about tefillin. So you got to first put on tefillin, and then say Shema, Amar Chiv, Rav, Amar Yechon, Kilu, Hikriv, Alav, Ayla, B'loi Mincha, V'zev, B'loi Chsachim, it's not a complete carbon. I will pick it up from the last line of the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.